Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
How are
Skip.
you today?
I'm good.
Are you? I'm feeling pretty good too. Back at it today. Last week we went over immune function in children and sugar season and why sugar is really tough on our immune system. Yeah. So we've gotten a lot of questions. So today it's all about what we can do to help ourselves with our immune system. So let's talk about vitamins. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Prime Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Skip Weiss, and I am with the amazing Dr. Julie Weiss, BDC certified coach, Dr. Fairy Fingers, back at it today. And last week we had an amazing episode. I thought it was really one of the best ones we've done because we talked about sugar, children, how it inflames our body, inflames our immune system, decreases our immune response. And then in the last week, there's been a tremendous amount of talk, both the chatter on Facebook and social media and on YouTube, and also now making national news and worldwide news is apparently COVID just magically went away for 2 years, magically, and now it's reappearing again. Just all of a sudden, out of the blue, new cases, new COVID, new coronavirus problems. This brand new Delta Theta version that's supposed to be more virulent than ever, and now it's in the heart of Europe. It's affecting the United Kingdom.
The media is really good at making everybody feel scared.
Yes, and granted, coronavirus, COVID, nothing to take extremely lightly. Yes, it can be a very extreme cold. Yes, it can be hard on our immune systems. But what they're finding again with this case, just like in the last 4 or 5 iterations of the coronavirus, is that it is becoming less and less virulent. The symptoms are less and less. It's more infectious, just like every other upper respiratory infection. And it's causing way less health problems. So my question is just like every other cold and flu season, Dr. Julie, there are certain things that we can do as one chiropractors, two, just the public and community in general to help bolster our immune systems. And it has nothing to do with masking. Imagine that. Nothing to do with actually covering your face up and not breathing in your environment. It has nothing to do with that.
If we can bolster our own God-given immune system, like our own bodies, that is like nobody can take that away from you.
No, you can't. You have your own immune system, and I find it funny. So what I did is I went to old Chat GTP, which I find really funny. I love using AI because I like to see what the public is asking. I like to see what people ask and what we get asked in the office, and I do find it strikingly different what we get asked at Prime Family Chiropractic Centers from the extremely intelligent patients that we have and the community that we've had versus the general questions that get asked on Dr. Google and Dr. Chat.
That's because they haven't met us yet.
Right. And well, it's a mindset, right? It's a community aspect. It's knowing that our bodies are designed to heal themselves. So the patients that we see, our clients at Prime Family Chiropractic Centers, and that you will find at most chiropractic offices, especially this time of year, they're not asking questions out of fear. They're asking questions proactively as to how they can help their bodies going into a season, especially when you're north, where we are in the northern part of the United States. Our vitamin D exposure from the sun does decrease this time of year shortly here. It will start going down because the sun gets farther away from this part of the earth. But are there things that we can do to actually bolster our immune systems? And I thought today would be an excellent day, especially at this point in the year. We are in the fall, it's September. What can we do going into this season of I don't like to call it cold and flu season. I like to call it not so much sunlight season and sugar season, which we talked about previous with sugar season, but now not so much sunlight season. So how do we bring vitamin D back into our lives to help our immune systems? Because that's a number one driver to our immune system is proper vitamin D amounts in our body.
I'd call this the proactive season
This is the
rather than being
proactive season.
a reactive
Yes,
season.
this is the
So
time to be proactive,
this
not
is
reactive.
this is the time when we build up our bodies, we build up our immune systems,
Mhm.
we start to change our environment,
Yeah.
we supplement with different things so then we can be proactive for when these things come at us, then we don't have to react in a certain way. We've already stacked the cards in our favor to ward off anything that's coming at us, but to build our immune system.
Exactly. So I went to the National Institute of Health because they are the gold standard in health and medical care, right? But let's talk about vitamins in the National Institute of Health. And I went and said, okay, tell me a little bit about good sources of vitamin D. Tell me what they are recommending, RDA recommendations for vitamin D, and it is absolutely horrible. They recommend for an adult 900 international units a day.
What's the bare minimum? That's if we just want to maybe like
That's nothing.
Exactly. And that's where like we talk about, do you want to be average? Do you want to be normal? Or do you actually want to benefit and keep your body healthy? Because if we can give this absurd number that is not to allow us to exude health, then that world has nothing better to do than to keep us sick, to keep us unhealthy, to deplete our immune systems. So when we become undeniably reliant within that system,
Sick and emaciated.
that's
And
the perfect
completely
world where
overstressed. And
part of
that's
the
where
world
upper
wants to keep
respiratory
us.
infections come in and become very, very hard on our bodies and kick our butt. And so the recommended amount for RDA at the National Institute of Health is between 600 and 900 international units a day for an adult, 400 to 500 units per child a day. And I can tell you that is extremely flawed, and extremely low. When we're certified nutrition ourselves, we know that the average human body needs 5,000 international units of vitamin D a day. 5,000, which is the equivalent of a half hour of exposure to the sun outside with more than half of your body exposed, being in the sun all day. But the other side of it is that people will then bring in fortified foods to try to bring their vitamin D levels up, which doesn't exactly work. See, vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. Therefore, it needs to be brought in through nutrition, but through animal fats, through animals, and primarily through fish. That's why you're seeing vitamin D coupled with fish oil, because it's there already. So they use it as a marketing ploy, which I find funny, which they'll say, yeah, now you get vitamin D plus, which we do have those supplements in the office, but having vitamin D coupled with fish oil, because it's already in there, is already there. And we look at this, and I find this is where I found the National Institute of Health spot on with this, is that they don't actually recommend trying to get your vitamin D in through fortified foods. They recommend you get it in through fish, through salmon, through sardines.
You're
through
never
tuna.
you would have to have that capsizing boatload of fish.
Yes, you'd have to be with
every
Jesus
day
telling you to throw the nets
to
out the
be
other
able
side of the
to
boat.
get your amount of D
Yes,
that you would
yes.
need. And
So
then
we
repeat every day.
So we need sun exposure, number one, but we also need it in supplemental form, getting in between 5,000 to 6,000 international units a day of vitamin D, which you can get in very simple through dropper form, through sublingual vitamin D in an oil form. You can get it in through capsule form, but getting it into your body, being proactive with it this time of year is extremely important, and it's extremely important for kids through 2,000 international units of vitamin D a day. So if we look at certain supplements that we carry in our office, we also know it's between 5 to 10 little drops of vitamin D a day is just enough to help these kids out. Get them in the sun, get them outside. That is the key. Get them outside, get them sun exposure, and then get them good fats through their diet, but get them beef, get them fish, chicken.
Yeah, but
get
kids,
good
let's
proteins
face it,
in.
kids are picky.
Yep,
and
they
so
can
that's
be.
where like we raised our kids of like, you're either going to eat it on your plate or we're going to have to supplement.
Yep.
And so one way or another, like they're going to get those vitamins and nutrition. And so it's with vitamin D for us, it's super, it's a liquid. It tastes maybe like a little bit of olive oil, no fishy taste, but like that's usually well, my kids are really picky.
Well, that's with fish oil, yeah.
Baby bird, right? And you just drop it right in there.
Drop it in and it's good to go. And I remember Dr. Bruce Bond, who we learned a lot of our nutrition from years ago, he always made this joke with his kids. It's going in one of two ways, either through your mouth or somewhere else, because you can do it in suppository form. I would rather eat it. I would rather put it into my mouth and move that along. Now, another big question this time of year is, Dr. Skip, because they tie into immunity all the time, zinc is a very, very common question. How much zinc can I have? How much zinc can I put in my body? Well, here's the thing with zinc. Zinc is water soluble. Therefore, if you overconsume zinc, you pee it out, which is fine. You cannot have an issue. Like with vitamin D, you can get hypervitaminosis D, but you have to have thousands and thousands of international units a day, not 5,000, like thousands, like 40 to 50,000. Commonly, they say 10,000, but that's even low because they'll do massive amounts of vitamin D in an emergency room injection when there's heart issues. So vitamin D is extremely safe. But zinc is even more safe. And zinc is a very, very important catalyst in your immune function.
Zinc is a catalyst in everything that's happened in these past few years to keep people healthy.
Exactly.
So if anything, if you take anything from this podcast today, is you need zinc.
Zinc
should
is
be
awesome.
a requirement.
Yeah, and I've got my sheets here because I got the zinc stuff from the National Institute of Health because, well, here's the thing. Why did I go to the National Institute of Health? Because that's where everything goes to. That's what pops up first on Google. It pops up first in Bing. It pops up first everywhere because they pay a lot to be there, but they also have a lot of information out there. Therefore, search engines will go there and you know, whether or not you're a conspiracy theorist or not, thinking the government's going to be trying to control your health for your health, Zinc is going to pop up, but the National Institute is going to pop up. So they talk about zinc, and they say the average amount that a person should have a day in zinc is 10 milligrams. That's in an adult. And in a child, it's 5 to 8 milligrams of zinc a day. And I can tell you, anything therapeutic will tell you to double or triple that. And taking really good zinc, like chelated zinc, which comes into your body due to bioavailability and breaks down well in your liver and breaks down well in your gut and your intestines, zinc is extremely important. Zinc actually crosses in the GI. So that comes back to another thing too, is the GI function in your child and GI function in adults. If your gut isn't working correctly, this has a lot to do with how you're going to absorb zinc. And it's extremely important to understand because, let me ask you a question real quick, public out there and my clients that listen and other chiropractors. If the GI is slow, meaning that you either are constipated or have diarrhea, do you think that you are absorbing your vitamins and minerals through your GI effectively? The answer is no, 100% no, like 100% no. If it's constipated, it's going to absorb way too slow. If it's diarrhea, it's going to absorb way too fast, which means your gut isn't pulling hydration across.
Or it's just hydrating. It's just being
just flying out of you. So how do we do this? We increase gut health. But the cool thing is with zinc as well, zinc is consumed through animal proteins, through red meat, which is really amazing. And same thing with vitamin C. And zinc is wonderful when we start putting things into our body because a lot of people think they're going to get tons of zinc through plants. You can, but it depends on bioavailability. Now, what I mean by that is that if you're consuming a very primarily high plant-based diet, your zinc levels don't actually come across as well as what you think because they're in a stored form in the plant. Therefore, your body's not going to break it down as easy. So zinc completely depends on its bioavailability. So what do you recommend our patients do in the public do to increase their zinc then, Dr. Julie?
Zinc is super easy to be able to supplement with.
Okay.
We have because it's so important in everything that's happened in the last few years, I make sure that I have different options for zinc. You can get it in just regular tablet form of swallowing that, but we actually have some little zinc wafers. And so that's what actually flies off the shelves. And
well, those lozenges are delicious.
That's, just taking that. But the other side, that the comment that usually comes back is with that is like, my hair feels different, or I have a little bit more energy. Again, the zinc is the energy stores. Those are the energy stores in your body, but that's your immune system. And so when you're feeling exhausted, tired, depleted, your immune system automatically goes down. We're talking immune system. So if you can increase the zinc content, your zinc consumption, that's going to increase your immune response, but also your energy.
Right. And the funny thing is that zinc, calcium, and vitamin D are all extremely important in bone formation in the body. And your bone health is extremely important. That's why you'll find a lot of elderly that don't have really good bone health have extremely suppressed immune systems. And we look at it this way. What is the best way to promote bone health? Movement and exercise. Wolff's Law tells us that all the time, that bone remodels due to stress being put on it. Therefore, if we're exercising, your bone needs to pull across more calcium. needs to pull across more vitamin D. It needs to pull across zinc to make itself healthier. So if your immune system is suppressed and you don't move, where is your body getting calcium, vitamin D, zinc from? It's pulling it from your bones. It's where it's pulling it from. So if we're a sedative American, like most of us young adults, I would say 20 to 40-year-olds, unless you're outside exercising and you're in environments that promote exercise, you're stuck behind a desk most of your week inside a building away from sun exposure, decreasing your immune function and response.
You wonder why you're exhausted, no energy, and why you get sick so easily.
Because your body's not moving. And the amazing thing is if we look at movement, and I'm gonna segue into this because it's important, and we're gonna come back to ultimately talking about vitamin C here in a minute. But movement is key.
Our bodies are amazingly smart. Like our bodies
yeah.
will take anything that it needs from us if it's already there.
Yep.
It just gets to a point of, well, do you want your bones to whittle down and become brittle? Or are you going to be able to supplement and get that movement in to be able to keep your body strong?
Well, let's tie in neurology to that too, because it's extremely important. Because over half of the nerves in your nervous system, so over half the nerves in your central nervous system is your brain and spinal cord. Over half of those nerves in that area, in that central nervous system, are designed for movement because they feed the brain. They have to go back and feed the brain. And over half of those nerve centers are in your neck. So your neck's health, your neck's position, the way that your immune system and your nervous system tie one-to-one together is through movement. You can see it through the remodeling of your bone and the strength of the bones in your body. You can see it through how your immune system functions, and you can see it through how your nervous system functions through movement of your spinal column. Therefore, if your spinal column is not moving, if it's causing nerve irritation, it is decreasing health to your brain as well, decreasing your immune system. So movement and sun exposure, being outside, having a good diet is extremely key, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. So now let's go into something else, because people bring this up all the time, and it's this little bugger called vitamin C. Vitamin C, again, is something that is heavily researched, heavily searched on YouTube, Facebook, all like Google, everywhere. People ask tons and tons of questions about vitamin C. And it was amazing because I actually asked ChatGTP, like, what are the top 10 asked questions for vitamin C? And it was incredible, like what it would spit out. And I'm like, well, these are questions that people are asking, so that means they're going into Google and asking these questions. So I want to kick them in the butt. And one of the biggest things is food sources. Where can they get vitamin C? Because we've been not brainwashed per se, but we've been really washed into believing that vitamin C is the only thing that can bolster and help an immune response. But it's extremely critical. It's extremely critical, but it works with zinc. It works with vitamin D and calcium and bone structure. Like, C is just as important. C is incredibly available in fruits and vegetables. This is the other side of it.
I remember it as vitamin C cruciferous.
Vitamin C cruciferous.
If you know what cruciferous
what does cruciferous mean?
It's those green veggies.
Yes, exactly. It's the green ones.
The kales, the spinach, broccoli, Swiss chard.
Yeah,
all
and
those yummy things.
But the thing is that if we come to this, your citrus fruits are extremely high in vitamin C. Your citrus fruits are. But it has to be cold pressed raw juice. It cannot be pasteurized. That is key. So everybody talks about Florida orange juice. Florida orange juice. If it's pasteurized, it's been destroyed. And what I mean by that, it's been heated up to try to take out all bacteria and viruses and anything.
All the good things.
To protect your immune system. But more importantly is that because of the pasteurization process and the exposure to sunlight, vitamin C broke itself down. This is why your citrus fruits have what on them to protect from sunlight? A massive peel, right? A massive peel. It keeps the vitamin C from breaking down from sunlight.
Every time we have conversations like this,
I think they're fun conversations.
It's fun, but it makes me upset thinking for me personally, our family, but then everybody else who doesn't understand or know this, that you think that you are making a really good investment by, getting fruits and vegetables in your home. Well, the next step up is, but they should be organic. and then they should be, non-GMO, non-pasteurized. It can be so overwhelming.
It causes paralysis.
And then you're like, well, gosh, I thought I was doing something good, and now like to come find out like my orange juice that I've been drinking for all these years is actually not any good at all. It can become overwhelming, and I think that's where, as a part of these conversations of just understanding, what you know, but you also don't know what you don't know, and there's a starting spot for anyone and everybody. And so if it's just this first point of listening to this podcast to start to get an understanding of where to start to look for these things, but then to realize that, gosh, is everything else that I'm eating or not eating, like what is missing in my diet? We can eat a super healthy diet, but we also need and have to supplement in this day and age. You can eat non-GMO, you can eat organic, non-pasteurized, all of these things, get your cow from the farmer down the road, but it is still not enough of how things are sustained in this day and age that we need to supplement.
Well, a lot of things are now empty. It's empty. There's a book wrote back in the 80s, I think late 80s, early 90s, called Empty Harvest, which means everything that's pulled off because the first 6 inches of topsoil have pretty much been degraded and destroyed.
Nothing's changed.
So there's not a lot of nutrient value in foods, so we have to supplement. You have to bring in supplements derived from whole foods. And I'm looking at this foods list of vitamin C while you're talking. And actually, can you guess what the number one source of vitamin C is right now in your diet? If you took, well, it's ahead of citrus. Red peppers. Yeah, and then fourth on the list is actually green peppers. And then it goes into broccoli and strawberries and Brussels sprouts and grapefruit and more tomato juice and cantaloupe and cabbage and cauliflower and tomatoes and spinach if it's cooked up to a half a cup. Green peas, everybody thinks spinach is for iron. Actually, spinach has tons of vitamin C in it. But your orange juice, your oranges, your grapefruit, yes, but they're right below red peppers, and then right below those two is green peppers. And peppers are key. And the thing is that, so it's your green leafy vegetables, and then red and orange and yellow and peppers, because peppers are delicious. Peppers are delicious. And if you eat them raw, they're wonderful. If you steam them, they're great. If you saute them, they're wonderful. Like peppers should be in all functions of diet. So should garlic.
And you know what? Peppers come in the nice little carry bag when you get them organic. And we had a road trip yesterday, and we were looking for a snack, and Brecken's like, "Can I bring these peppers?"
Yeah, leaves them back chomping away.
Yep. So like they're really super simple road snacks.
So in essence of putting this to a whole as parents out there, and what are some things that you can proactively do as parents? Increase vitamin C, increase D, increase zinc in your children. Get them outside, keep them moving throughout the fall, keep them moving throughout the winter. But then bring things into their diet that is actually really, really awesome plant-based, protein, animal-based as well. Like having a very good, well-rounded diet. You notice nothing in here talked about carbohydrates. But I do find it funny that besides vitamin C, so your zinc and your D, they have fortified foods on here, such as cereals, fortified cereals, and it ranks pretty high on the list. But the reason why is because it's fortification. And when they fortify these things and they mix them with sugars, they mix them with carbs,
that's a generic form,
and you can't absorb it.
Yeah,
you're not going to absorb it.
Makes it sound, and like if you can start to learn how to read labels, and they've gotten really crafty because people learn how to read labels. They've gotten super crafty of labeling things a certain way, and just because it says organic does not mean it's healthy. I think in our newsletter this week there was a post that went out about the top 10, and you think that you're like the hit on agave, like, oh, that's so good for me, when you actually make sure you check out that newsletter or let us know if you need it. But things that are sold as healthy and good for you is not always true.
I think a number one kicker there too is people talk a lot about kale. And I want to just hit quick on kale. Yes, kale's delicious if you cook it right, but here's the thing. People talk about kale as being a superfood, a supergreen. Well, because it detoxifies and can actually help filter and cleanse the body. But here's the thing with it. It also cleanses the air. So it's pulling in tons of chemicals from the air, tons of chemicals from the environment. So kale is a double-edged sword. Is it healthy? Yes. But does it have a ton of toxins in it and a ton of stuff that it's pulled out from the environment and pollutants in the air? It does. So you need to be real careful with kale because it's just as good for your body, but it works as just as a high source of, if somebody like literally waters a field that has heavy metals in the water or there's heavier things going on, kale leaches and grabs it and pulls it in. So you have to be real careful with that. So kale is one of those things where if you're looking to get the nutrients from kale, you can get it from other sources, especially things like delicious Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and beef liver. And I know how much you don't like liver, but liver is wonderful as well. So parents out there and our people that listen and our wonderful clients and docs that listen as well, these are the things that we need to be talking about as a society right now with this quote unquote scare coming into us again. What are things that we can do proactively, including natural exposure to other people being around us, to get ahead of these viruses that are coming into our body on a daily basis? They don't just ramp up this time of year. They're around us all the time. It's just that in the summers, we're very active and we're in the sun.
It's the sunlight.
Yes, in the winters, our activity level goes down. We become hermits. We sit inside our houses. And then when people do come in sick and expose us, we generally get our butts kicked. We generally show and express symptoms, which aren't really that comfortable, but it's needed for your body to get this stuff out. And we do a good job of it. Anything else you'd like to contribute?
Well, I would
this
just
week?
say, because we have viewers from all over, and so we have our curated list of supplements and recommendations that we put out there.
From our office
but
app.
we always have them here. You can see them in our office app, but you can also, we have a nutrition store. You can go to primefamilysunders.sanerprocess.com, and some of the things that we had mentioned that you can put into there and shop, and then know that they're coming from a really viable, really good place, and how they're sourced, and that has our seal of approval on there from us.
And hit the link below. Share this to as many friends and family as you possibly can out there, because we're on a mission to get our voices out to everyone to improve the health of Green Bay, Wisconsin as a whole, and the United States. So everybody, go out there, get it done. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.